Warning. The following are thoughts and opinions that belong to 4chan and Reddit. They do not reflect the thoughts and opinions of the Atomic Shaman Sweat Lodge. This is for entertainment purposes only.
Go to Parallel Universe. r/Parallel Universe. The subreddit mirror frame is blowing my mind open. Every time I look at it, I feel as if the words are speaking directly to my soul. I've gotten 3 messages sent to me directly from something outside myself, through that subreddit. I've felt signs and messages before, but nothing like this. I don't know if it would work for anyone else because everything I read felt like it was catered to my mind and my mind alone. But maybe someone else, reading it at a different time, might have the same experience. If you're curious, check it out and let me know what you think. Go to Experiencers. r/Experiencers. I don't know how I knew, but I did. When I lived in the Keys, I met this man, James Everett Pressler. One day, while doing some stuff for the Salvation Army, I was summoned by this man to get a battery-operated radio off a shelf for him. As I leaned down to hand it to him, he was in an electric wheelchair, our pupils locked and every hair on my body stood at attention. I don't know how to describe the demons I saw, because I really didn't see anything physically, but I did internally in myself as if I was him for a split second. Anyways, I went home that day and told my mom that he had offed many, only to be called crazy. Well, 2 years later we're driving through the avenues, and there's tape around his house and it was swarmed with all sorts of agents. Turns out he committed a terrible crime in 1976 and was suspected of committing more. Unfortunately he passed shortly after incarceration, so they couldn't get more out of him. I don't know how I knew what took detectives years to figure out, and I've struggled for years with this. But it doesn't end there either. After meeting this man I started having prophetic dreams, of which I don't know if I should attribute to my encounter, or if it's an entirely different happening. All I know is that I've always been a magnetic north for the weirdest shit. Some I can't prove because I don't have witness, but thankfully I do for this because it makes my weirdness not so crazy to one person. Go to gang stalking. r/gang stalking. They are definitely using your phone to track you down. I had a post in here days ago where I'm being gang stalked after the spat I had with my neighbor. I always wondered how they magically manage to track me down and know the places I visit or fast food restaurants I eat at despite only going to that place for the very first time just that day. I then recalled how Edward Snowden made a report and whistle blew how governments are using your cell phone and social media to track you down and blackmail you, if you happen to post or upload unsavory pics and whatnot in your accounts. So I made a little experiment to see if they are indeed using my phone to track me down. Not gonna expound on the details, but your phone is basically like an AM/radio device. They can track you down by using triangulation through cellular towers and through your GPS. But that also means you can block this function by encasing your phone in some sort of mini Faraday cage so no signal comes in and no signal comes out. I encased my cell phone in my makeshift case, wherein I lined the leather with lead and aluminum foil, only taking it out when necessary and when buying stuff since most of my money is in digital banks and wallets. Before leaving home, I would place my phone on this case. Surprise, surprise. After doing this, the amount of noise, harassment and intimidation on where I would go to suddenly dropped. Motorcycles and cars which would suddenly stop in front of me somehow disappeared. Before doing this, they would stop in front of me in an obvious way while I was eating my meal, then honk their horn and rev their engines in an attempt to intimidate me and slash or make me uncomfortable. True enough, when I took my phone out of my makeshift Faraday case, 10 to 20 minutes later, those harassers suddenly knew my location and they did their usual thing again, stop by in front of me or the restaurant where I ate, honk their horns, rev their engines loud enough, then speed away. I then put back my phone in my DIY Faraday case and went to another place, continuing my little experiment. I hanged out in the open loitering whenever I can, just chilling around, trying to goad them and see if they did their usual harassment, but nothing came about. The rest of the day became uneventful. It might be purely coincidence, but I'm led to believe these people are also using your phone to track you down. I'm gonna experiment further on this, as this might just be coincidence, but I'm really led to believe that your phones and other devices are just one of the methods they use to track you down. I'm going to see if there is indeed a correlation on this. Go to aliens. r/aliens. This is huge news. Fox News Digital: Trump orders agencies to waive NDAS for UFO witnesses cooperating with feds. https://www.foxnews.com/politics/long-hidden-information-center-push-free-former-officials. President Trump recently directed the Department of War and the intelligence community to allow former government employees or contractors that have relevant information about the disclosure of UAP to come forward to meet with designated government representatives, AARO, or the President's UAP Task Force, pursue and have their prior NDAs abrogated. They found evidence of the impossible. So they finally found evidence of V2K-like devices, even a portable one. Now the big question is, are they going to find out the satellite version of the tech? Go to experiencers. Experience. I've had a really strange experience with my friend, and I honestly don't know what to make of it. For the past few days, we've been talking a lot about whether God exists. Tonight we brought the topic up again while we were outside. There was a young cat walking around us the whole time. I tried to shoo it away, but it kept staying nearby. We said, "If God exists, come here," and repeated it a few times. Nothing happened. Then I said, "If we're living in a simulation, come here." The cat immediately came over to us. Later, we went to the public basketball courts where people always play. It was July 21st, the middle of summer, but there wasn't a single person there, which already felt strange. We crossed to the other side of the river and saw 3 to 4 people playing basketball. As soon as we took out our phone, they were gone. We walked over to the courts to check, but there was nobody there. A little later, while we were on a bridge, we saw 2 red lights in the middle of it. We looked away for just a moment, and when we turned back, both lights had disappeared. After that, we started noticing a lot of people wearing red. I'm not saying this proves anything. It was just a really weird night, and I'm curious if anyone has experienced something similar or has an explanation. Go to gang stalking. Spying help. I can't prove anything because no one believes me. So I've been in communication with a group of people through some type of spy thing. Bear with me cause it's gonna sound like a mental health issue. I've been living my life sober for a bit now, but a few months ago I was laced and I had dropped. When I came to, I could hear people I knew but they weren't in the room, and I low-key thought I was losing my marbles. Then I had people showing up to my place more often. They were super passive-aggressive about me, but I let it go. I ended up moving to a new city and somehow I could hear them on my entire trip, day and night. I went to the doctor because I thought maybe it was just me losing it, but everything came back fine. Now what I know is there's 4 people that are recording me all day. I know this because they say they are, and they also replay the recordings. No one else can hear these people but me. I have suspicion that it's some type of bone conducting device or something. They're really trying to ruin my life, and I'm just hoping anyone anywhere has any answers to what I should do or who I can go to get this thing found and removed from me. I'm being harassed. I can't even shower in peace. Please, if anyone knows anything, let me know. Go to experiencers. I may have had an abduction experience. For some brief prior context, I've been an experiencer for at least 3 years. I've had encounters with pretty much any entity you can think of, and countless paranormal experiences that are still ongoing. My experiences, for whatever reason, seem to begin after whistleblowing against a major corporation. July 22, 26. I went to sleep with my girlfriend around 12:30 a.m. Around 2:30 a.m. she woke up to me groaning loudly in pain. I was incoherently and unresponsive. At times I was holding my head as if I had a bad migraine. This went on for about 30 minutes. She was unable to wake me, even shaking me. She's aware of my past and ongoing paranormal experiences, and recorded some of the audio to show me later. She said I was firm, almost completely stiff, and so heavy she could barely even move my arm. I've had multiple experiences which I believe were abductions, but this is the first one someone was actually present for and witnessed me unconscious and unresponsive. She had to sleep on the couch because it disturbed her so much, and when she finally woke me up, I immediately noticed my head was at the foot of the bed. I looked up at her and said, "What the fuck happened?" And she explained everything. This is notable because I never sleep at the foot of the bed. In whatever way it happened, I was misplaced. My eyes were completely bloodshot when I woke up, and even after applying eye drops they were red and heavy most of the day. I felt confused, disoriented, and dissociated for the rest of the day. My memory was shot. I couldn't remember any of the plans I had that day and was having trouble articulating my speech. The closest thing I can relate it to is having a concussion. What do you guys think happened here? My partner said it was like my physical body was there, but I wasn't there. It makes no sense that she couldn't wake me out of it, especially if I was in pain and groaning. So what happened? Was I possessed? Was it some kind of astral abduction? I'd love to hear some input from other experiencers. I have about a minute of audio she recorded if anyone's interested in hearing it. My friend has been saying she is being controlled by reptilians. I got this message from my friend out of the blue. She says she cannot be friends with me anymore because my husband is reptilian and the reptilian who speaks to her causes her pain every time she talks to me. She's been saying since 2020 that a reptilian makes her do things by causing her severe pain when she doesn't. I believe this stuff, but also I'm like, is this mental health / drug related? It's hard to tell sometimes. She's been sober since I've known her, but recently she admitted she's done meth before and she started taking Xanax due to this situation. Has anybody experienced anything like this? It's so strange, I wish I had answers. Edit to add more context. Her grandpa worked for Area 51. Her and I always used to discuss all these deeper topics such as reps, the gov, advanced technology, spirituality in general, and trying to make sense of this reality, etc. But since this has happened, we can't have a real conversation about anything. It's like something changed in her overnight. It has been a constant reiterating the same things over and over again, such as the texts I included. Go to r/gang stalking. Targeted for about 4 years now. Question: do you guys have much success convincing loved one or friends? Really happy to hear I'm not the only one getting through this. Can't talk to my family or friends about this. There's no way to prove what I'm going through. Perhaps it'll come out one day that this is going on. Don't know how long this is going to last for me or anyone in my situation. Just stay positive. I'm praying for you all that there is light at the end of the tunnel. Go. r/experiencers. Almost abducted. I can't believe I am sharing this. Even my own family members don't believe me completely, and here I am sharing an experience that shook me and changed everything. So this happened a couple of years back. I was doing some digging on aliens, ETs, etc. I was a skeptic back then. Then I found a subreddit in which people talked about their experiences, and it was mostly negative experience, so I thought if it's real I'll test it out myself. I decided to call them. Now here's the thing, some people have good ET experience, some have bad. I previously tried to call the positive ones, but I didn't receive any response, so I was a bit apprehensive, and honestly I thought it wouldn't work. After all, it didn't work previous times as well. At night I decided to call those ETS and went to sleep. In the middle of the night I woke up to this loud mechanical sound, like the roaring of an engine. It was really loud. When I was thinking about it, suddenly I felt myself floating up from my bed. Like they show in those old cartoon movies without the light beam while the engine sound is still going on. I understood what was happening. I was gobsmacked because they existed. I was in disbelief because they responded, and I was terrified. Why? Because I remembered what those negative aliens did to those people. I wanted to cry because I did want to go through that torture. Then I loudly screamed in my mind. I couldn't speak because my whole body was paralyzed. I screamed, "You do not have my consent. You don't have my consent. I don't want to go with you. You do not have my consent to take me." I screamed that over and over again for what felt like 5 minutes. Finally I was put down and they left. When it was over, I was stunned. How would I expect other people to believe me when I couldn't believe myself what happened to me? I put my blanket on and tried to go to sleep. Now some people might say that you called those negative aliens yourself, so why are you surprised? Here's the thing, I called the positive ones as well, but they never responded, so I was on the fence, but look how fast negativity responds, and hence I was shook. Conclusion: ETS exists. I found it through personal experiment, and after that nothing was the same, except for the fact that good ETS still don't respond though. I am still trying to contact good and benevolent ETS. 2012 Men in Black CCTV hotel footage. A Canadian hotel manager reported observing a black triangular craft on 2 separate occasions. A couple weeks later, then visited by these unusual men. Described as having no facial hair, no eyebrows, were very tall, very pale skin, unusually large blue eyes, and an appearance so similar that they seemed to be twins. Go to r/gang stalking. In 2021, I was working on a project with some people for graduate school. In the process, I accidentally found out that many of these people were involved in some 3-letter US governmental organizations. I have been harassed by them ever since. It has gotten worse since 2024, and I have tried even contacting some of the organizations. However, they ignore all my attempts. And I also am unable to get a job. They keep me from being able to get jobs and work. Also, everywhere I go, they show up. I go to work out at about 3 a.m., and when I enter the gym, nobody is there. But after I begin to work out, a lot of middle-aged men and other people surround me and begin to work out only around me. The rest of the gym is empty. Also, they show up at my church, and they lie about me to others, so that only the government people are able to be my friends. I've tried to do online work and take clients online, but when I do so, my only clients are government investigators. I am unable to get away from these people, and I am constantly stalked and harassed by these people. However, I am unable to get jobs in my profession now, or any job. What are some advice you have? Go to r/reptilians. What is the deal with them? I had been stalked before, even at my work that is a sensitive area. Sometimes they will pretend to speak on the phone, but I know no one on the phone with them. Been harassed many times on the highway by an unprovoked cars, and when I speak in my mind that is childish and petty, they will go on their way like what? Go to r/experiencers. Serious story, possible telepathic communication from the 4th kind, or God maybe. Has anyone else ever telepathically communicated with unknown beings/entities? This story may sound crazy, and trust me, I know it does, but I'm still just as confused about it as the night it happened, and sometimes I wonder if it was just a really weirdly real feeling dream or what. Anyways, my story takes place in a small Montana town around 4 to 5 years ago. It started with me going to sleep, or trying to, after getting a slight buzz from some rest and relaxation. Now when I say slight buzz, I mean it because I had been drinking quite a bit at that point in my life, and that night I had drank half of a pint when usually I was able to chug a whole pint and still not get drunk, but I digress. So I had started to fall asleep, and suddenly I was awoken by a voice in my head, not my inner conscience, that told me to step outside and look in a specific direction, and somehow without being told what direction, I just knew where I was supposed to look. I fixated my eyes on one spot in the sky, and this night had been especially cloudy, to the point that you couldn't see the stars, and suddenly 3 orangish, golden, pinkish lights appeared from out of the dark clouds in a kind of triangle formation, and the voice started to speak again. It told me that I have a special purpose and that eventually I would come to realize this, and ever since that night, one burning question has stuck with me. What special purpose could I possibly have, and was it aliens or was it maybe God showing me his/her existence? It was and probably always will be the most surreal experience I've ever had. Go to r/cryptozoology. I believe what I saw even if no one believes me. So I was a child when it happened. I didn't think about sharing my story on the internet until now, but I hope someone will believe me/help identify TF it was. When I was a child, every summer my parents would send me to my grandma's village in Bashkortostan, Russia. It was a nice village, like you'd never noticed anything strange, and besides that encounter I didn't notice anything weird either. So the village had like a hill with a forest on it, and we, the kids, would get up the hill to get some berries, which was totally unsafe but whatever, and we went straight uphill, never through the forest, and that day, I wanted to get up through the forest. I'm feeling scared as I'm typing this, if I'm honest. So I went up to the forest, and I see the thing. It was pitch black humanoid creature by the trees, and first it was on all fours, then it went up to standing on 2 legs. It wasn't a bear, I think it was too skinny to be a bear, and I've heard like animal noises, like the chickens and stuff, even though there weren't any nearby. Of course, as a kid with common sense, I ran home and told my little brother about some bullshit living in the forest, which scared him, but to be fair, I was scared, too. And I never went to that forest again, nor do I even go to that village anymore. I'm valuing my life more than curiosity. So, professional monster hunters, any ideas what it could have been? It sure scared me as a kid, but I still believe in what I saw, even though I was just a child. PLS be nice though, thanks. Go to r/gang stalking. So tired of it all. It's just gotten so bad and they won't leave me alone. They've gotten to the point they don't even hide it. They're literally right in my face every day. Cars following me for 14-mile distances and turning around. Always 3 cars at a time. Always all tinted dark black and all black vehicles. Usually Ford pickups or Yukons. False charges and whatever they can do to keep me stuck in the state. I know some people are told they have mental health issues. And when I first heard of this, I literally laughed at it too. I can't tell anyone how fudged this is and what it feels like. Guys, it's awful and I'm starting to get scared for my life. I think they want to do horrible things to me and keep me forever, and the laws, all of it is literal bullpucky. They just do whatever they want anyway. Any ideas for a plan for safety and getting out of I fear the worst? Go to r/gang stalking. Anyone else? Every time I go to a supermarket, they always play some of my favorite artists, and I'm not into pop. I'm into indie alternative. I know damn well they don't have Mitski or Marina queued and playing on their little radio thing. It genuinely makes me want to get out quickly. The security buzzers went off when I went in too. They're just always watching. Go to r/experiencers. Discussion. A few days ago I was at the beach and laid on my back looking at the sky trying to find stars, even though there was a lot of light pollution, so I found a star, then found multiple satellites. I focused on the satellite, it was moving fast, then I noticed the satellite seems to stop for a second then move again, it kept happening, then I concluded that there was some invisible or clocked ships or flying vehicles that were crossing or passing near or in the view of the satellite, so it appeared to me that the satellite was stopping then moving again, but in reality it wasn't. It just there are a lot of cloaked ships in the sky that I noticed this happening. Tell me your thoughts. Please, I need some advice or help. Hello Reddit. This is something that I've only ever talked to one other person about and they are no longer with us. I'm terrible at starting things like these, so I guess I'll just start at the beginning. When I was 10 years old, me, my father and my little brother had a ritual every night, as in when the stars would come out. He would pull out a small couch from the garage and a telescope and just talk to me and my little brother about all sorts of mysteries and philosophical ideas that two young children could understand. That is, while we looked up at the stars together for hours, wondering what was out there in that ocean of vastness. And this really was almost realistic. We would do it every night as far back as I can remember. He would bring up ideas and talk about space, and me and my brother would just sit there in awe of the cosmos. One night in 2000, we were looking up at the stars just like every other night. This night was different because after about an hour of doing this ball of light shot from my right side and captured all of our attentions and stopped no more than 200 feet above us. This gassy, luminous, almost off-white colored light. It was huge. It had to be the size of a 2-story house. I mean, it was huge. And it sat there for about 30 seconds suspended in the air before it completely expanded, lighting up the entire neighborhood and then collapsing in on itself and disappeared. My dad was silent. My brother was silent. I was silent. We had no idea what we had just seen, and we sat there in silence for what felt like an eternity before my dad told us in a very stern manner to go inside. I was shaking. My brother, who was 2 years younger than me, looked dazed. My mother shot up out of bed because she heard my dad run into the house, and he told us to get to our rooms and shut the door, and I felt extremely nauseous and like I had been hit in the head with something. Like that dazed feeling. My brother immediately laid down and went to sleep as if nothing happened. Meanwhile, I stayed up listening to my parents argue about what we are just seen, and that's when the dreams started to happen. Dreams of waking up with this intense pain in my abdomen, undescribable pain, and when I would open my eyes in the dream, I was on my back with 4 figures around me. 3 of them I could not see their faces, but I looked down and one of them has all the way up to his wrist in my stomach. No surgical tools, no incision, just as if he was able to reach deep into my abdomen to the back of my spine, and it felt like he was searching for something, and I could feel every minute of it, the pain. I can't explain the pain. And I'm trying to move and I can't move. I have no idea what is going on. There's a bright light above me. The room had like this reddish tinge to it, like a red mist in the air almost. And the 4th figure was standing right outside of my line of sight to my right. But he then moved into my line of sight. He was very, very tall, huge eyes, not black like you see from grays. He just had giant eyes with blue iris, no hair on his body, thin as if he had suffered through chemo, pale, white skin, and he huddled over me, staring deep into my eyes, and I don't know if it was telepathic because he had no mouth, but I got the sense of, oh no, he's awake. And that's when I wake up. There are no scars on my stomach, no evidence that anything happened, but I've had the dream over and over and over again since that night when I was 8. And I am 34 years old now. Then about 2 months ago I was laying in bed with my wife when I felt something grab at my leg and I woke up. And, side note, I've got to say that I always sleep with a nightlight because of what happened when I was a kid. I'm not ashamed. From the shine of a nightlight I could see a figure about 4.5 feet tall with a giant head, almond-shaped eyes and yellowish gray skin grabbing at my leg. Yes, just like your typical gray alien. And I kicked at it and kicked at it and kicked at it. My wife never woke up. The next thing I remember just falling over, passing out and waking up, shooting up out of bed, and it was 8:30 in the morning. All of a sudden it was daytime outside. I don't know what to make of this. I will say that I've had other weird experiences throughout my life since that night when I was 10 years old, but these are the most important. I gotta back up a little bit too, because besides what happened 2 months ago, there are other things that are important. My father passed away when I was 18. He was sick. It was a long time coming. He was battling a terminal illness for a long time, but in those last 2 years of his life, We talked a lot about this. And what I had found out from him was that he too had experienced several abductions when he was a young boy until he was in his 20s. What terrifies me now though more than myself is that I have a 13-year-old son who finally is starting to open up to me about dreams that he's been having about being taken by something. He won't tell me any further than that, but my son is terrified of being kidnapped in his sleep. I have no idea what to do, where to go, or who to talk to you about this. Sorry if that was all over the place, and I am glad to answer any questions that anybody has for me. What's the creepiest thing you've personally experienced? Looking for genuine first-hand stories from /x/. What's the strangest, creepiest thing that has ever happened to you? No creepypasta or stories you found online. I'm interested in things you actually experienced yourself. Could be paranormal, cryptid shit, ghosts, witchcraft, or anything that genuinely stuck with you. Anon is fine. Detail/context appreciated. 12. Got called myself in the future. It was awkward and I can remember both events, mostly. Sitting in a car on the side of a dark snowy ride in Canada with two friends at the front of an entrance to a supposedly haunted trail. Used to live in the region when I was younger. As a child, friend told me people would drive out to the area and get rid of bodies/have satanic rituals, etc. Get older, and aunt tells stories on how when she was in high school they said people would drive out and do rituals in same area. Finally, like 20 years old, driving around smoking bong and tell my friends. One friend tells me his dad told him the same stories after mentioning it. Friend knows exact place of where this shit supposedly all took place. Same story, been following me my whole life, and this friend's last name is coincidentally the same name of the road, says his family grew up on it, etc. We go there to check it out, mad snowy and cold. We go in trail, friends get scared and immediately run out, we all run back to car. I don't see shit. All settle in, have windows rolled down slightly at the front for smoke to clear out. Hear huge wind gust across barren farmers' land dead of winter. As this happens, there's a deep bellow of a man's voice through the winter night for a few seconds, super haunting. We all look at each other in immediate shock. We all heard it, start car and leave. It's hard because my memory is a little fucked, so the actual creepiest experience would take me some time to really think about. That said, I recently did what was called list/leave work for the Canadian Census, which meant driving to very rural areas to drop off census droppers because mail is not easily accessible/deliverable in these areas. There were houses I went to where clearly illegal shit was going on, e.g. drug ops, limbs from poached animals just sitting in the open, and several times the thought of if these people were home they would know I saw this and nobody knows I'm here. This could go very bad. The sleeve of my shirt burst into flames with no explanation whatsoever one day. I was on a walk through a suburban neighborhood at night, one where all the houses looked different, and one house had a rock garden at the front of the yard, so I randomly picked one up and I turned it over and it had a perfect human face etched into it somehow. It was the only one like that, and I actually checked the others. From some angles it kind of looked like an alien. I have had experiences with mind reading and it is most certainly real. The scariest one is this. Be me. Living in a shed in my mom's backyard. It's late at night and I'm sick AF. Take some expired cough syrup and Benadryl to help with it. Go out and sit on my bed, scrolling my phone. Start to have mild hallucinations. Suddenly become filled with fear. Earlier that day I had called my pharmacy and the automated response teller said, "You have 8 different prescriptions available, would you like me to list them off?" See a Tumblr post on Instagram that said people think being on 8 different medications is going to stop vampires from drinking their blood. Vampires used to drink asbestos-laden factory workers' blood in the 1800s. Start freaking out. I look at my carpet and see something small and red in color start weaving through the shag carpet extremely fast towards me. It stops and disappears before it reaches the bed. My door was open just a crack and humongous moth that was stark white in color flies into my room and lands on the lamp beside me. Odd mixture of events, and I began to think the reason I saw that post was because I was basically being seasoned with fear and adrenaline by psychic vampires hoping to make me their next meal. Other weird shit happened too, like call my friend after work one day to tell him about the strange occurrences that have been happening to me. He tells me I'm being paranoid and to stop worrying about it. I tell him no bro, I'm serious, there is something watching me. Lights in my room suddenly shut themselves off. WTF? I can continue too if you want. 333. Trip of trips, cool. Creepiest might be pushing it, but this one is like the most undeniably /x/ things to happen to me. Be me. Be 2023. Be after hurricane. Be without power, so be bored. Go check out our RV in the backyard just to do something. Upon going to exit, find my tooth holder I got from the dentist as a child. WTFING, as I have no idea how it got there. Yeah, I don't know WTF happened. I just remember feeling something was off and that it was missing one day, but never thought of it much afterwards. I don't know why my folks would take something like this and hide it in the RV, not known pranksters, plus it is an odd place to put it even if it was a prank. Never sleepwalking a fake, and even if I did, I would have seen and felt scratches all over me as the over had blackberry plants near it. Not a stick object either, so I highly doubt I accidentally tracked it in there. Another weird thing is that a tree fell ABD blocked off that RV a few months later. It gas since been cleared, but still have not been back inside. I was told it might be the Fae, but I think it might be some Matrix shiz though. Was out camping in a woods. Hiked into a state forest in the middle of nowhere. Was homeless at the time and had left the shelter because homeless people suck to be around. Always stealing shit, starting fights, obviously doing drugs. Had to get away from the shit, so I packed my bags and biked to some secluded state land. Was once the location of a town, but the people left over 100 years ago and forest has grown in its place. Biking in there was this weird vibe to the place. Farmland everywhere, then suddenly just trees, the air was cooler, and it was darker there. Hiked down the trail about a mile in and turned off the path, went about a quarter mile away from the trail. At first it was the most peaceful, blissful place. Nothing around but trees, no one even visited that forest, and I was well and truly alone. Sleeping in a hammock set up with just a tarp above me, so like an open tent. First few nights are uneventful. But then one night it came. Dark, moonless night. Starting to fall asleep. Hear something moving nearby though. Something about the movement triggered my natural instincts and my hair started standing up on my arms and back of my neck. All I hear is steps, then breathing. Can't tell how far away it is, but the breathing is so fucking loud. Like, if it was an animal it would have to have been a huge fucking bear or something. But it didn't sound like a bear, it sounded like a person breathing, but like a really big person with an enormous chest cavity or something. Sounded kinda like someone was heavy breathing into a megaphone. It keeps walking nearby where I am. I say fuck it, I need to shine a light. Get out the flashlight, but there's fog so thick I can't even see 10 feet away. Thickest fog I've ever seen. Breathing keeps going, I can hear it walking further down the hill near where there was a small stream. Heavy breather eventually walks past me and on into the forest. Based on sound alone I was pretty sure it was a giant. Me and my friends saw a black misty dog running highway speeds with our car and then it disappeared. A week later her friend died. Staying at my family's old house in mountains south of Mexico City. Get used to sleeping in the living room's giant sofa. Mom and stepdad moved away, living alone. Up one night trying to sleep. Feel something slap me across the eyes. See nothing but static snow like a television but darker for about 2 minutes. Vision goes normal again. Slept in the master bedroom after that. Same house a few weeks later. My old room is upstairs. Go get something in it late at night. When I walk out I distinctly hear hoof clops walking away from my bedroom door as I exit it. Tried to not be upstairs after that. Few months later. Trying to go to sleep in the master bedroom. Something bangs on the door very loudly. It's up high like a person. Ask who it is. No answer. I'm young and foolish so I grab a stick and open the door. No one is there. Go down to check the front door. Locked. Look upstairs. Darkness. Go back inside room and try to sleep. Definitely believe in the paranormal. I don't know WTF was in that house but I genuinely can't explain any of it. I ended up moving away and with no one living in it the neighbors ended up looting it. Not sure WTF ever happened to it but something had wandered into that place from the woods. Be me. Be overworked rig worker. Working mostly the 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. tour. Go to fucking Pecos Walmart for supplies. Traffic is surprisingly light. Trudge through exhaustion and purchase supplies. Start heading down US Highway 285. An open-bedded truck loaded with porta-potties is ahead of me. See how poorly secured porta-potties are. Feel extremely done with this bullshit. Slow down and create more distance. Watch as the wind starts to shake the porta-potties ahead of me. Realize this is how I die. Time slows as adrenaline kicks in. Feel peace instead of dread. See the first porta-potty flying towards my windshield. Open door flaps majestically like a mighty bird. Another flies off the bed of the truck shortly after. Don't react. Don't feel anything. Keep driving toward the incoming porta-potties. Porta-potties flap their open doors and twist. Porta-potties fly off to the right, completely missing me. Truck ahead pulls over. 2 embarrassed Mexicans get out and look at the porta-potty debris scattering the road. Drive back to rig. Sometimes I wonder if I didn't die on that highway that day. Like this is all some sort of hellish afterlife or perhaps that quantum immortality is real. Would have been a shitty way to die. Be me. 11-year-old boy. Sometime around 2012. Playing Roblox. On friend's obby game he made. The only one on the game. Sometime during the game, a completely random user joins in. Starts to chat at me. He claims to know my friend and asks to hang out amongst other stuff. Lie to him and start coming with random bullshit just to get him off me. Ask my friend at school. He claims to have no clue about who he is. The player ends up sending me a friend request. Go to block him when I see the only game on his profile. Game for my friends are usernames. Log off and join as a guest just to avoid him. The game is a simple house with our avatars stuck inside. 1 week later. Guy keeps making alt accounts and sending friend requests. Block him every time. Start playing with my friend on some game. Guy joins on yet another alt. Starts threatening us, claims he knows where we live and that he's coming in a gray car. Nothing really happened after this but we'd each receive many heart attacks when spotting gray cars driving by. Did mushrooms and smoked weed once, was genuinely convinced for about 3 hours that I was being transported into Superman crystal hell. Never touched the shit since. This is not the creepiest stuff I have experienced. I honestly couldn't tell you. It's all become so monotone. I was once exploring an abandoned house that is rumored to be haunted. I was feeling particularly spooked on that visit, so I decided to cut it short. I'm fast walking toward the exit when I feel a pain like I've stepped on a nail. There was nothing on the floor. No debris on that spot, and my shoe was completely intact. The feeling of dread was suddenly gone too, probably because of the sudden scare. Should have gotten a tetanus shot afterwards, now that I think about it. It was Thanksgiving and I was in amnesia. My family had spent the night and the preceding years mostly ignoring me except to advise me and test if I was psychic because of signs. I was in amnesia and saw and heard memories and visions from pasta, presents and future others consider frightening, that's why the planets sent those thoughts at me, and I saw languages explaining how they did so and how they could have done it better if any of them will ever try thought. The family asked me to sit near them and all watched. We a boy between 5 and 10 years of age, I forget, grabbed my private parts while everyone watched, and they looked at me wondering if that would cost them. As if they didn't disappoint their ancestors and descendants as well by deciding they were stupid enough to need to ask the question with their faces. Nothing is beyond my planning. While it's happened, I used the opportunity to learn to hate blondes more, they're my weakness. To learn to love cousin fucking more, so I can figure out how to ever forgive my family members but relating to them as one of their own. I felt for enlightening inside and outside of myself and heard the cutting of mortal nations in terror as I promised it's never forget. The smell of the food and taste on my mouth became disgusting, but not like my family, my enemies, humans, animals, plants, aliens. I practiced modulating my hated and love up and down slightly to bend space-time in different ways. There are hundreds more cells in my family members I will destroy and create for LE epic 4chan like narcissistic I can cross sexual boundaries and you may not hurt me lies. Democrats and Republicans, Christians and atheists, men and women planned, thinking it genius to fondle a psychic with a reputation for violence. I combine their memories with yours so you know more about my scrotum. There is power and safety in being my ally. Opposing me leads to Tower of Babel-like behavior in you. One time I smoked too much weed before a long meditation session and I hit something that felt like enlightenment. After that the signs came, the 24/7 synchronicities, reality breaking down and me awakening from it as God, with what one would describe as angels dictating mad divine rituals for me to perform. That was 16 years ago. I wasn't entirely sure what was happening back then with me, so I went again 11 years ago. Second time was even more intense and strange. I went much further into it and am lucky to have gotten back to consensus reality again, where I plan to stay for another 40 years or so. I have sleep paralysis and OBS often. They were either terrifying or heavenly. I've never seen any of the entities people talk about, it's usually just me wandering some pseudo-home-like realm. Though I've never seen an entity, I've been fucked with many, many times. One of the most recent instances scared the shit out of me after waking up. I remember the usual, being super tired, feeling the electricity in my skin, hearing the hum, but I don't remember actually falling asleep. I remember trying to sleep. My mind goes blank for what seemed like a few seconds, then open my eyes up, and I'm enraged. The angriest I've ever been in my life. I jumped out of bed and ran to my back door. I looked out the window into the woods, and shouted, if you ever come back into my house again, I'll fucking kill you. I'll fucking pull you apart. I was punching the window to try to break it, so I could pursue whatever the fuck I thought was in my home. And I knew I was dreaming / having an OBE, because I tried to phase through the solid door to fuck up whatever I thought was there. And it felt like whatever it was looking back at me, though I never saw it. I woke up terrified, not because of the experience, but because I've never felt that level of pure rage in my waking life or in a dream. I think there was a lot more to the dream that I forgot, specifically the beginning of it. Whatever it was, it felt familiar. Typing this out and remembering it is giving me chills. It's sort of true that though family, friends, and strangers molested me via their Buddhist, Christian, atheist and other hands, men and women, boys and girls, that there's something even creeper, and that's the rest of society. Because before I entered kindergarten the societies lied to me, from this universe and others, while making illusions of the ground cracking and blood boiling by the ocean full, they're just cowardly fake liars. Dissed of mind, body, and soul on purpose to be useless, while declaring that power. You kind literally will at how disgustingly powerless and evil you are and claim it's evidence you're powerful, bargaining for the lowest wages to attempt to crush civilizations with womanly passive-aggressive BBC innuendo. Promises that a Jew's unleashed sweaty bread deserves your money once a week and hates money too, you white supremacists and lazy singers of other varieties white. Black and brown begging non-existent sadly diseases for salvation knowing you haven't and won't ever be spoken to in the spirit because you choose to not deserve attention. Creepier than a small city conspiring to powerless molest me and be beat by me is perhaps less disgusting than that all the rest of you do the exact same in the past, present and future every moment. You've built your towers of Babel out of laziness and cowardice so they reach beyond the clouds, and because you got hurt you're too weak to make sense, you declare your uselessness victory. 2 reptilian women suddenly appeared in my bedroom and desperately wanted sex from me. Literal scaly-skinned little dumplings were asking for human cock. Took me totally by surprise, or so I thought. I was about to decline when a fucking portal opened up and an older version of me walks past saying I got this before scooping up the lizard girls and taking them to my bed. I left and came back later wondering if my future self technically cheated on our future wives. I swear that this is what happened, anons. Lizard ladies are real. Likely a dream or something, but when I was a kid I woke up at night and had the sudden urge to slide back the curtains and look outside and saw a huge metallic blimp-like thing floating right outside my window. I then decided to just go to bed for some reason after seeing it didn't really think much of it, but when I woke up in the morning I realized how fucking weird it was. Super boring I know, but it actually happened, even if it was just my mind being weird. Didn't feel like a dream, but logically, likely was just one of those that your non-logical side of brain says was real if that makes any sense. I really wish I had something more interesting, but my life has thus far been super boring in that regard. Off topic, but I always laugh at the census kooks because they keep leaving increasingly threatening letters to fill it out, but I never do and I know there's nothing they can really do about it. Or if I do get forced I just lie for fun. As the man on the other side, does it bother you guys at all? Honestly, my parents have experienced way more interesting things. The previous owner of the house we live in was a doctor, and when we first moved in my mom I think said she saw a doctor or something when she was asleep. They only later found out about the previous owner. More recently, like few months ago maybe, they told me about how they heard weird whispering outside their window. All in all, that's it really still maybe boring. Just here because I am bored at 12 AM and have that horror itch and YouTube is just showing me shit I've already watched, not an active user on this board really. I almost forgot, my grandmother claimed to see a UFO above her car I think, don't really remember much else it was forever ago. Not an X story, but goes with your quantum immortality experience as it's one of my own. I was working alone in the woods building a 2-story tiny home. I has a 23-foot adjustable A-frame ladder so it could be 11.5 feet as an A-frame or 23 foot as a full ladder. I had it fully extended and this thing was heavy. As I was carrying it the wind picked up and brought it off balance, and when trying to rebalance it I tripped on a stump I hadn't pulled out of the ground after felling a tree. My unprotected head got pinned between the ladder which fell on it heavily and a second large stump. I had a brief feeling of I just died and then went on with my day. I've had a glitch in the matrix moment like this as well. When I was going to college there was a custom t-shirt place down the road from campus. I am a ridiculously niche mix genetically, Irish, Polish, and Guyanese. I shit you not randomly when walking down the road the shop had a shirt reading "Kiss me I'm Polish, Irish, and Guyanese." I didn't buy it, but I probably should have. Perhaps you would see if you lifted your nose from your phone for 2 minutes or walked without music in your ears. The world today is full of distractions. Paranormal shit happens all the time, you're likely either too distracted to see it, or naturally protected by God and don't have to deal with it like some less fortunate fellows. You ever just walk into a room or hallway of a house and feel something is just wrong? My grandparents were prone to having paranormal experiences in their homes they've lived in over the years, and every time I'd go to see them, certain rooms or hallways just felt off. This was happening even when I was very little and had no knowledge of their paranormal experiences. You just kinda had to be there. Knew that a car was finna start dumping on me with a hammer even though it was just a normal car FR. I get a lot of déjà vu. Sometimes it's years between when I dream it and when it happens. Sometimes it's like something from a video game or a new movie that comes out and I'll recognize a few seconds of it. Sometimes it'll start but not end the way it ended in my dream. I've prepared myself for cars crashing into stores multiple times but the car never comes. It's weird. I was laying in bed with my cat. I felt something looking at me from outside the window next to the bed. My cat looked at the window with ears angled backwards, hissing loudly, and then jumping off the bed and running away. During the whole COVID panic, I had to go to the doctor to get some antibiotics for my tonsillitis. The procedure was park outside the clinic, call and answer the questionnaire to see if you had COVID or not. Answered all the questions and at the end of the call I heard a blood-curdling scream that got progressively louder to the point it felt like my head was going to explode. Hang up and say that was weird. Go inside and ask the receptionist who was screaming on the phone. She goes white and says no one was screaming. We both look at each other in silence, and after a minute we decided to pretend it didn't happen and get on with our days. So yeah, demons are in machines. Bumping because good thread. When I was a teen I would solo climb water towers. No record of serious mental health history and no drug use. When I was 15 I was on way to the water tower on foot per usual. It was about a mile away. As I get to an intersection near the tower I hear a voice say hello 3x, female, early 30s. Around the fourth time she says who are you? Right in my ear. Mind you it's 12 a.m. in the middle of nowhere next to the woods and an intersection. I ran a mile back to my house non-stop. I've never heard anything else. I've never heard anything that real without it being there. I realized they're all lying. A lot of people are lying. Truly paranormal experiences are pretty boring but can be confirmed if multiple people saw them. I'd tell my ghost story, but it's pretty stupid. However, it can't be rationally explained and someone else also saw it too. If you get close to people, about half of all the people I have met experienced something weird. The stories just aren't all the impressive and they don't want to seem crazy by talking about them. My first BS detector when I hear about a story is how sensational it is and whether the person telling it is an attention whore. But just because a lot of people lie for attention, doesn't mean everyone is. I have shared this on here before but back in 2018 I was working as a sailor on transferring a boat from Balıkesir, a region in Turkey close to Gallipoli, to Antalya. On the journey, since the owners of the boat were also with us we were stopping by at nearly every cove in the Turkish side of the Aegean. Most of them were completely devoid of humans, but due to a population exchange in the 20th century forced by the United Nations of the time abandoned ruins of villages were not an uncommon sight. In the third cove we visited, somewhere that was only few hours by ship away from Izmir was one such cove. We arrived at dusk, and as the skipper I went ahead and scouted the area where we anchored. The weeds were long and the water too shallow in most places. There was strangely a donkey with a harness and a few animals on the shore but no villager in sight and of course an abandoned village outside the side of the boat with a few houses, now only the square stone outline, sitting half sunken into the sea. Sunset came and went by. It was a full moon that night so we had relatively good visibility. One by one everyone went to sleep but I had found a nice Cuban cigar on one of the drawers on the boat I wanted to make use of, so I silently went to the deck. My captain was sleeping on the pool of the boat as he liked the night breeze and wanted to react to any emergency like the boat drifting fast if it came to that, so I moved to the front of the sea and tried to appreciate the view although the bushes were all dark. As I lit my cigar I started focusing on the shore. And I realized that within the darkness there was a lot of movement. The wind was howling so I could not hear much, but like the eyes of cats I could see things looking right at me. They were moving erratically, from one side of the hill to the other in speeds that didn't exactly make sense for the shrubbery that would block their movement. They increased in number too. At first it was 1 or 2, later 10 and 20 and even more and more. They all seemed completely focused on our boat and nothing else. Eventually I woke the captain up to ask him what the fuck was up. He sweared at me and said they were just spirits or something and I'd be fine if I just ignored them. I didn't really sleep that night, but when come the morning I did another tour of the cove with the dinghy. The animals and donkey on the shore were gone, but the harness remained. I still don't know what the fuck they were, but glad they didn't know how to swim. When I was 4 years old, I woke up in the middle of the night. The first thing I saw was eyes. Pick strongly related. They were everywhere, on the walls, on the ceiling. Staring straight at me. Sometimes they'd blink, sometimes the pupils would just start spinning in random directions like a fucking kaleidoscope. I was scared shitless, had zero clue what the hell was going on. So I just yanked the blanket over my head, LOL, as if that flimsy sheet was gonna protect me from interdimensional nightmare fuel. After a while I peeked out from under the blanket, but the damn eyes were still there. Then I screamed and called for my parents. I don't really remember the immediate aftermath, but I told them everything I saw. They obviously didn't believe me, but they could tell I was genuinely rattled. The next day they bought me a Super Nintendo game and that surprisingly did the trick. When I was a kid, I saw a Reaper. I could be like 10 years old, we were returning home later in the evening, so nobody was present at home. I can't explain it to myself even today, and I remember it pretty well. For a brief moment, like 1 to 2 seconds, after I turned on the lights on stairs, I looked from below of the basement. We were using the back entrance of the house as main, all the way up to the second floor, and there it was, staring at me like a fucking hawk, slightly bending over railing. It was not carrying the scythe, which is like first thing you gonna imagine thinking about Reaper. Also, I wasn't able to see its face clearly, but definitely it has some kind of face or white blur. Maybe it's worth to notice, that like 200 or 300 meters away of our former house, there was a church with cemetery. At the moment I saw it, I looked away and immediately got my eyes to the same point, and nothing was there. So I rushed to the top floor, immediately opened all the doors to the rooms and OFC nothing was there. I was kinda scared but also curious. Also now I remembered that I saw a ghost once, standing behind curtain in my room, as I was bit younger. Like 1 to 2 years before that Reaper. It must have been around 10 p.m, I probably fell asleep as a little kid, and some noise woke me up. I thought that it is my mom, standing by the window behind the curtain. It looked like her, statue with long hair, and she was maybe singing or whispering something, making some noise with that curtain. I immediately began asking something like, "Mom, WTF, what are you doing there?" and got louder and louder. I was so confused when my mom opened door, and suddenly no one was standing there. So, TLDR, I'm not sure if I hallucinated, saw something like a ghost or even Reaper back in the day. I was little, scared, kid, but I am damn sure what I saw. 2 years ago, I just woke up, it was a calm sunny Saturday morning and I remained laying in bed. I was completely awake with my eyes closed and I turned on my side. I was thinking about the house of a friend of mine when the image was completely broken like a glass window by the vision of a night sky. At that point I found out that I was completely paralyzed. I started to fly into a single point of light kinda like Gandalf in Lord of the Rings 1 and I started to hear an electronic/radio/gray sound with beeps in my ears. The image slowly became simpler, the stars became white squares and the main light in front of me became a bigger square divided into 4 sections, the sound became louder and painful, I tried moving but I was unresponsive. The square was getting bigger and I was getting close to my destination, the smaller squares got put into a grid, The beeping became stronger and numbers started to appear in my vision. I distinctly remember the number 0 as in empty, not just 0. At this point I'm truly panicking. I see the square is like a door that's open for me and a malicious entity wants me to go inside. I know I'm going to be lost forever in that space. I focus all my will into the rejection of that thing, and after some time I'm finally able to lift my head and I lift myself up from bed sweating. The image I made just after the experience. B7 yo-ish. Go with a friend to woods where we had a rope swing over a pond. We'd been there every day that week. Walking through thick woods, almost there. We come to a clearing in the woods. Notice around 20 blobs of fur hanging from pieces of string around the clearing. WTF are those things? Gets closer to one. Sees that they're dead cats of different colors hung from the trees. Weird. Pokes one with a stick because I'm 7. Ew. Friend, here's something. We look through trees to see a homeless looking man walking towards us carrying a plastic shopping bag with something in it. Nope. We fucking ran in the opposite direction as fast as we could. I'm guessing he was the man hanging the cats. Fuck knows what would have happened if he caught us. We never went back there after that day. I went there recently and it's a housing estate now. Honestly, the weirdest was just a huge coincidence that isn't really creepy, just so incredibly unlikely that it stunned me. In an online game that has unique random URLs for each temporary server, I made a server. The random URL it gave me was my year of birth and my weight, even with kg at the end, which I had weighed that morning. There were no other numbers or letters. Huge coincidence, but it was clearly just that still. I eventually joined someone else's random server afterwards, and that one had the 6 last numbers of my phone number, meaning it was only one off and missing the area code. Now I was very concerned. After that I kept making servers and none of them had any meaning whatsoever. It was just a huge coincidence. 9 years old. Family moves to a new town in the north. You're no city slicker, but the new place is more rural than what you're used to. The way to school, which you have to walk, ends up being a couple miles. It's a lot shorter if you walk through a forest, but it's a little scary in the morning since it's still dark. Get used to walking through the forest. Pretty sure there are no wild animals since it's pretty close to a neighborhood. Kid imagination still gets the best of you. Sometimes hide in a ditch or bushes for a minute just in case. It's half make-believe and half real vigilance because you heard something. One time do it while walking with your older brother and he laughs at your antics. If you're so scared, just carry a stick. Start always carrying a stick, intending to strike any animal you see on the nose. The stick fills you with confidence. Start running through the forest with no fear. One morning in the middle of winter. Your class is doing an event at morning assembly held at 8 a.m. Because of this you have to be in class by 7 a.m, fuck the school for this. By the time you start your commute it's still pitch black out and you're alone. Quickly find a stick. Run through the forest like normal, but here's something. Instincts tell you to duck into a ditch and cover yourself, so you do. No sound for a while, so look to see if the coast is clear. There's a pack of wolves, more than you can quickly count, maybe a dozen. Mind goes blank and all you can do is grip the stick like crazy. No idea how to survive a wolf attack, you're a city slicker after all. Look at the closest wolf in the eyes firmly, it's all you can muster to do. The wolf pack carefully walks past you. Keep giving them the stink eye until they leave. Go to school like normal, a little shell-shocked. Nobody believes your story? At home look up how many wolves there are in the area. Maybe a dozen or so. Realize you encountered 100% of the wolf population of the area and survived. Nothing paranormal yet, but one time I got called out by someone good with computers and /or a fed on /fit/ back in 2017 to 2018 or so, where they called out a Shadman tab I had open when my post made zero mention of it, just to tell me they see me. I don't think I even posted anything bait-worthy when it happened, so it wasn't out of anger. It genuinely is strange, but I do think the sea has some properties we don't know about. While I was sailing, I also heard sirens around the Greek island of Mykonos. The singing was genuinely angelic. But honestly, I don't have much to say about that experience. Traveling on the sea at night is like traveling in the void. You rely more on UA electronic instruments than sight, so it was just the singing I heard and didn't see them at all. The singing seemed to be coming from far, far away compared to the position of the vessel as well, and eventually it just stopped. When I was between the ages of 4 to 10, I lived in a haunted house. I always saw the silhouette of a man at the landing at the top of the stairs. If I had to pass the landing, I closed my eyes and ran so I wouldn't have to see it. Unfortunately, my room was right next to the landing, so at night I could see the shadow man just outside my room. Sometimes he was far away, sometimes he was right in the doorway. I always felt incredibly uncomfortable in the house and could never fall asleep as a kid. The ghost didn't stay in the landing either. I could be anywhere in the house and I would suddenly feel like I was being watched, and that would escalate to intense fear because you could feel this palpable hate directed towards you. It is just this alarm going off in your head of, if I don't leave, I will get hurt. I don't remember this part, but my mother said I was saying really disturbing things when we lived in that house. As a 7-year-old, I was talking about stabbing myself and drowning myself with a millstone. I guess alien abduction, being probed, having eyes in my bedroom, being lifted out by bed by a mantis being, stuff like that generally creeps me out more than other things. Realize you encountered 100% of the wolf population of the area and survived. Wildlife authorities usually underestimate the amount of predators in the local area because if they didn't, people would shit themselves. I saw a mountain lion 25 years ago in my area and was told they didn't live anywhere within 500 miles of me. Trail cams just picked one up a month ago. Cool story, and that's a lot of wolves, and glad you survived. There are probably a lot more wolves there though. When I was little, I saw an apparition or a glowing faded version of what could have been myself and older from another timeline, or an ancestor or progeny. Either way, they looked like me or related to me and older, and that really spooked me. Also around that time I had like a full download of someone who lived in that house prior to my family moving there, my first childhood home. Most recently, however, I have always been a manifester, unconsciously just doing little girl witchy things or willpower things without thinking much of it. Fast forward to being a super stressed negative adult trying to live in another country, I unintentionally imploded my entire life through negative repetitive assumptions between a period of 2 years, all coming true in this crescendo. I believe old high-tech metropolis cities like New York or Tokyo are definitely energy portals and can amplify shit. Anyways, the weirdest thing about it is I left a bunch of stuff in Tokyo. Hell, even someone I got into an argument with who I love deeply was wearing a pair of socks before I never saw them again. When I left the country a month, layering my luggage were their headphones and the socks. Really weird, and I'm getting to the bottom of it as I'm writing this, which is annoying because I'm trying to revise the entire series of events but really want to talk to this person about it because they are woo-woo too. But if it was a timeline shift where I'm on some weird NEG timeline, I'm concerned if they will even have the memories. I don't know. Consciousness and non-duality is interesting, and I think I'm gonna stop questioning shit so much cause I just want to enjoy the time I have with people I love and enjoy now that I know what the fuck my problem was. LOL. B18. Dropped out of college, moved in with divorced dad. He is lonely. He picks up female hitchhiker. Takes her home. We have supper together, watch an old movie together. She wears a turban, carries duffel bags that won't leave her side. Uses her own plastic utensils. Won't press buttons on the remote or phone, circa 2009. Says she's on a mission to change the world in Times Square but won't elaborate. Gets upset if anyone touches her bags. She agrees to sleep with dad. My room is next door to his. My room doesn't lock, my brother's does. Nothing happens overnight. I lend her $20 in the morning for things she needs. Dad drops her off at the bus station. Never see her again. I wonder why the turban. Be me. 8 to 10 years old. Dreaming of some guy viciously stabbing these girls. Was so clear I can still remember it, and I'm now 57. Awakened from my sleep by my mum shaking me awake. I was all wet. She told me to change my PJs and to come sleep in mum and dad's room. About a week later she later told me there was a rain cloud above me raining on me while I was having this vivid dream of the stabber. We moved out about a year later after my brother committed suicide. I didn't return to my bedroom. I was about 9 or 10 years old around December of 2012, and it was right around the time I was deathly afraid of the world ending. The house we lived in at the time was a 2-story built in the early 20th century and was falling apart at the seams. I went upstairs to sleep with my aunt for comfort, as to put my mind off of the fact that life as I knew it would be over in less than 2 weeks. I recall waking up in the middle of the night to the feeling like someone or something was watching me. It's that heated, prickly feeling you get on one part of your body that points in the direction of wherever you think you're being watched from. The source of it was coming from the foot of my bed. I had the covers all over me, including my face. I wish I never took them off because I saw the most horrifying fucking thing in my life. There, about a foot or two away from the bed, was this 7-foot-tall shadowy humanoid figure. It was transparent, and I could see the antiquated vanity mirror that my aunt owned right through this thing. It stood to the right of my old baby crib, watching me. The scariest thing wasn't the fact there was a humanoid shadow being in my room, but what it was watching me with. It had 2 glowing balls of light where its eyes would be. These orbs left a white and yellowish trail, which meant that this thing was moving around subtly as it was staring at me. I believed that what I was seeing was a hallucination of sorts, so I put the covers over my head and hope it would go away. I pulled the covers off of my face after what felt like an eternity, and I shit you not, it was still standing there. It never moved closer, and it was in the same spot it had always been. The fucking thing was still beaming my soul with its laser stare. It was raw fear. I put the covers over my head, and forced myself asleep. The next morning, it was gone.
Are you a targeted individual? Have you had a paranormal encounter, or are the victim of an unregulated government experiment and would like to share your story with us? Would you like to send us some fan mail or a hate-filled rant? Do you have an idea for a future episode or wish to send a complaint to HR? Email us at atomicshamanSweatlodge@protonmail.com. Like, share, subscribe, and be sure to check the notification bell. Follow the Atomic Shaman on Twitter at Motel and RV Park. Listen to Paranormal Green Text Stories on Atomic Shaman TTS on YouTube. Catch the live streams of Atomic Shaman Sweat Lodge only on Rumble.